By the end of this video, you're going to have the 5 best beginner credit cards of 2024 to maximize every dollar that you spend. And if you skip any part of this video, you're going to miss out on tips to avoid ruining your credit score and maximize every card that I share with you. Plus, I'm going to share 3 powerful tips to boost your credit score and avoid getting denied for all of the cards that we go over. Starting in no particular order, let's start with the card you can get without even having a credit score, which is the Discover It. I consider this the ultimate cashback credit card on steroids. 5% cashback on everyday purchases at grocery stores, restaurants, gas stations, and many more on rotating categories every quarter. Cashback never expires and it gets better. So Discover is going to match all the cashback that you earn in the first year. So imagine doubling the amount of cashback that you earn with no extra effort. So I started with this card at just 18 and the extra cashback really helped me out, but you have to remember to always be diligent and pay this card in full and on time. Which reminds me, we have way easier cards to get approved for that are coming up next, so make sure to continue watching. But first, we have bonus tip number 1, which is make sure you're always using a pre-approval tool. So before you start applying for different credit cards, these tools will let you see if you're approved or have a good chance of being approved without actually impacting your credit score in a negative way. Most major banks and credit card issuers have pre-approval tools available on their website that lets you see if you're approved without actually doing a hard inquiry, which can ultimately hurt your credit score. I've used all of these tools above to help me see if I'm pre-approved for a credit card, because the last thing you want to do is waste your time chasing a credit card that you have no chance of being approved for, because at that point you're just wasting time. And I'm going to share why time and how you apply for these cards and at what point in your credit journey is one of the most important things later on in the video. Next up, we have the best credit card for simplicity, which is the Citi Double Cash card. This card is awesome and it's super straightforward, giving you 2% cash back on everything, and it's structured as 1% when you buy and then 1% when you pay off your credit card bill. Doesn't matter what you buy. As you could see here, there are no categories, unlike the Discover card we talked about in the last thing, where you're getting a cash back on certain categories that change every quarter. This credit card is different. You're getting 2% on wherever you spend with no cap. It's unlimited. This one in particular does have a $200 cash back after you spend $1,500 in the first 6 months, which is a sign-on bonus. It is a one-time thing. You don't get it every year after that. It's important to note, yes, this card is simple, but the cash back is given to you in the form of thank you points, which is Citi's form of travel points, and points that you could be used to redeem for a cash back, gift cards, travel, and much more. So you don't actually get straight cash back. That said, still the best card for someone who wants straightforward rewards and doesn't have to kind of check around each month on what's trending and what categories they could earn the best cash back. They could simply just go on with their daily life and they're okay with the 2% versus maybe 5% on another credit card, but you have to hunt down the best offers each month on where to spend, which could be a little annoying, and I'm speaking on based on past experience. And plus, before you think that this card is too simple, let me show you an easy way that this one could be used to help you get out of credit card debt if you find yourself in that sort of situation. So this card offers 0% on balance transfers only for the first 18 months. So basically, let's say that you get approved for this credit card and you have debt on, let's say, an American Express card. You could transfer that debt to this credit card as long as your credit limit is big enough, and you could have 0% interest for 18 months while you pay it down. It's very important to note, this only works on transferring balance and not on new purchases with this credit card. On top of that, if you look right here, you're not going to earn those cashback thank you points on the amount you balance transfer. So don't think you're slick where you could spend $1 million on another company's credit card and just transfer the debt and have millions of points. It doesn't work like that. The bank is a lot smarter than us in most scenarios. Which leads us to tip number 2, which is learning how to space out your credit card applications. So when you apply for a new credit card, the issuer does what's called a hard inquiry on your credit report, which ultimately hurts your credit score. So to minimize this impact, you want to space out your credit card applications from 3 to 6 months, maybe even longer, depending on how many cards you got in a recent time frame. This not only protects your credit score from dropping too quickly, but also increases your chance of being approved for new credit cards because you're less likely to be seen as a risk by the credit card company. When I first started out, I made a mistake of applying for a bunch of credit cards immediately, and I learned the hard way because my credit score dropped by a lot of points and I was getting denied for credit cards left and right. but you fast forward to today's world where I pretty much haven't got denied for a credit card in the past 5 years because I learned the ins and outs of how to approve, what to put on the application, and even better, all the tips and tricks to maximize my credit score, which I'm going to continue sharing throughout the video. Which leads us to card number 3, which is the best for high rewards and the American Express Everyday Credit Card. If you're new to the credit game, you're going to find out quickly that American Express is the head honcho and they're at the top of the credit card ladder. So I could go on all day on how their credit cards are the best, but this video is specifically for you who is a beginner and wants to know which credit cards to get when they're starting out to ultimately maximize their credit profile. It's important to point out that all of the credit cards I've shared so far hold a no annual fee, which is why they made it to the top of my list on best credit cards, especially for someone who's starting out. 3% on groceries and US supermarkets. Important to note this is not unlimited like the other cards. However, it's limited to $6,000 per year, so you get 1% anywhere after that. 3% at US online retail purchases, again $6,000 per year, limited to that, and then 1% after that. 3% on gas stations, and $6,000 limited to 1% after that, and then 1% everywhere else. Now this card specifically does also have a sign-up bonus, and to make it better than the last two, it also has a 0% APR period that can be used for not only purchases, but also on balance transfers for 15 months. So my sister has been using that card for years, and she loves stacking up her rewards. I actually have the one right above it, which is the Blue Cash Preferred version. We're not going to talk about that one because it has an annual fee, maybe in another video, but for now this is the best high rewards credit card that is mentioned for a beginner. Bonus hack with this card is that American Express allows you to increase your credit limit without impacting your credit score after just 90 days of having the credit card, which I made a whole different video on, so if you are interested you could always check that one out later on after watching this video. Which leads us to bonus tip number 3, which is keeping your credit utilization low. Credit utilization, also known as how much credit you're using compared to how much credit the credit card company is offering you. Think about it like this. Let's say we have a $1,000 credit limit and we're spending $500, we're ultimately at a 50% credit utilization, which is terrible, and it's going to drop our credit score tremendously. Best rule of thumb is to keep your credit utilization at 30% or lower. Best to be at 10%, 5%, or the best number, which is 0%. This is very tricky and we don't have enough time to go into too much detail, but I did just release a video that explains how to maximize all parts of your credit score, so again, you could always check that out later on after watching this one. I personally have seen firsthand that how much paying down your credit card before what's called the statement closing date could skyrocket your credit score, so always make sure to be responsible and always make sure you're following these little tricks and tips to ultimately build your credit score. Which brings us to card number 4, which anyone could get approved for, which is the Chase Freedom Rise. I'm talking anyone. I've had an international person reach out to me, as well as another international person that I met at a run club in Tampa where I live, and ultimately they got the card without even having a credit score. In fact, they had what's called an ITIN number, which is basically if you're international, you come to the US and you ultimately become a citizen, you get assigned a different number so they could kind of gauge who comes from different countries, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, and ultimately get a credit card here in the US. That's how easy it is to get this card. So if you are new to credit or simply just rebuilding your credit, this credit card has got you covered. Look right here. Increase your chance of getting approved for the Chase Freedom Rise by having at least $250 in any Chase checking or savings account before applying. They're giving it out like candy. May not have the highest credit limit. I haven't heard of credit limits being over $1,000, but ultimately it is going to get your foot in the door at one of the best blue big banks. Just to reiterate, every card we talk about has no annual fee in this video, and you're getting 1.5% cash back on everything you buy. Also, it's rewarding people with $25 just for enrolling in AutoPay, which you should have automatically because ultimately it helps prevent missing payments. But that is a good little incentive. This is sort of irrelevant, but I like that Chase has a kind of definitions of beginner credit card terms here on their website that I recommend checking out if you need help explaining what certain things mean. Hopefully I did a decent job of explaining them so far, but we can't stop there. That credit card is going to help you build and rebuild your credit faster than ever. It is practically the first credit card that allows you to get approved from a big bank like Chase, American Express, Discover, Capital One, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. with basically no credit history, and even worse, just with an ITIN number or having a few bucks in a checking or savings account. So they're really doing a good job of making it available to people that don't have any sort of framework or built out accounts on their profile. Now, card number 5 and the best overall is the Apple credit card for a bunch of reasons. Personally, I love the Apple card. I use it pretty much every day because it is super convenient. Basically, it links up to your other Apple products and it makes it very seamless to not only spend money, which may not be the best thing for us as consumers, but what I like about this card is it offers me benefits for no annual fee and helps me track every little expense. What do I mean by that? So the Apple credit card is going to give you 3% cash back when you use the card with Apple Pay to buy something using your phone at select merchants. Ace Hardware, Nike, Mobile, Uber Eats, Walgreens, Panera Bread, and much more. Otherwise, you're getting 2% on every purchase as long as you use the card on your cell phone to buy something and not the actual physical card, which I don't even know where it is. Actually, it's right here. Let me grab it. Zoop! And then 1% everywhere else you use the card, but there is a bonus hack with this to get up to 8% cash back. So the bonus hack with the Apple card most people have no idea about is basically if you open an Apple savings account, which is super easy to do, and you have the Apple credit card, every day your daily benefits is that you get your cash back. You could automatically put that into your Apple savings account. So let's say that you get 3% at Nike for using your Apple card. You automatically put the 3% benefit back into your 4% high yield savings account. You're effectively getting 7% interest for doing nothing. And here's a visual to kind of make it all make sense. And even if you don't qualify for this credit card, Apple has another hack called the Apple Pathway to Better Credit. Basically, they're going to design you an exact plan on what you should be doing with your credit score, and then ultimately after a few months, they'll let you get the Apple credit card and get started with your credit journey. There's no hard inquiry to be accepted into the Apple Pathway program, and if you have been accepted or know someone who has, I would love to hear from you down below, so please drop a comment so we could kind of get this chat going. And don't forget, if any of these cards are interesting to you and you're thinking about applying for them, I do have affiliate links down below in the description. They do help support my page at no extra cost to you. That's all I have for you today. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I do upload it 3 days a week to help you make more, save more, and raise your credit. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.